Hey guys, this is Group 8. I'm Brianna Ellis.
I am Jared Kolodziewski.
I'm Caitlin Zagami.
I'm Sarah Flick.
I'm Ava Stubbs.
And the topic and article that we chose to do our research topic report on is the mysterious pregnancy of the North Carolina stingray, Charlotte, and the science behind her mysterious pregnancy, which is parthenogenesis.
So we've all heard the tale, if you've grown up Christian, of the Virgin Mary. Now, her main story was about her gift and had a baby without any help of a male. Now, in an aquarium in North Carolina, there is a stingray named Charlotte that has gone through a process called parthenogenesis.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know what that is, which I'm sure a lot of you don't because we didn't about 3 months ago, Charlotte is basically going through a form of asexual reproduction where she doesn't have any male stingrays in her tank. She's actually living with 2 little bamboo sharks. And so she basically went through asexual reproduction.
And actually, the Smithsonian article that we pulled all of this from said that it's a once in the bluest of moons experience from Brenda Rammer, who was the executive director of the aquarium at the Shark Lab where Charlotte is. So this is one of the first times that we've seen this in a stingray, and there was speculation and kind of jokes going around saying that it could be shark babies, but we are here to say that that is not what's going on here. It is most definitely parthenogenesis.
Yeah, while it would be cool, no shark babies, no shark rays.
Not anatomically possible.
Yeah.
Because their DNA isn't compatible. So there's no possible way for them to create offspring together.
Yes. But this isn't actually the first time it's been documented at all. There was a eagle-spotted ray that did the same thing. She had like a consecutive amount of births. And when they took the pups of her offspring, they found that 2 of the pups had DNA of a father, so she had sexually reproduced with someone. But in the years that she was by herself, she had gone through parthenogenesis multiple times, and so the pups that they took from the asexual reproduced litter were found to have no male DNA at all. So it's only female DNA, which leads all of the babies to be female to begin with.
And this isn't like the first time it's happened with just a stingray. It's very rare in most species, but for like jawed vertebrates, usually they can go through parthenogenesis. But it leads to an ovarian tetratema, which is a tumor in the germ layer. So you can't get past the gestational phase for development for the pups, I guess. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so Charlotte is a medical mystery. Well, kind of. So when they first documented it, they thought it might have been growths or some sort of tumor on her. But then they took an ultrasound and they were like, no, she's pregnant. So we'll see the babies, whenever the babies come. And, I mean, she's supposed to have had the babies by now.
Yeah, we fully thought that by the time we were going to be presenting this project that the babies would have been here by now and we would have been able to sit here and say exactly what happened, what the outcome was. But unfortunately, that has yet to happen. So if you're super interested in this, like we all were, continue following. Hopefully here soon in the next couple of weeks are thinking maybe there might be some babies. But usually the gestational age for this type of stingray actually is 6 months, and we have just passed that. So they're hoping within the next couple of weeks that they'll be coming. If not, they have been monitoring them to make sure that they are healthy and that they are still alive and doing okay. And all the tests that they've done have come back positive. So waiting for that positive outcome of the stingray birth.
Yeah, anyway.
Oh, also, the other animal that did parthenogenesis was the green anaconda in Tokyo at a zoo. It gave birth to a month into captivity. And then 8 years later, they discovered that she was carrying 2 fully developed female neonates that died with her. And those 2 were fully identical to her. So she also had parthenogenesis, but unfortunately died before she could give birth to those.
Yeah, so even though they are very opposite ends of types of animals there, they both had the one thing in common of being in captivity.
Yeah.
So that could very much so have a factor in this.
And all of the offspring don't have any paternal genes, so another thing in common.
Yeah.
They also, there's no reason to say that wild animals cannot do parthenogenesis. Typically, we can't exactly track that because they're all in the wild. So they probably do that in situations of crisis where they think they have to pass on their genes and they have no option to do it with any males. So if they're isolated for whatever reason.
Yeah. There was an article that I read that talked about sperm storage in the vertebrate female reproductive tract. It was very interesting because it basically presented the idea of like females of many different species can hold sperm in, they're able to hold sperm in their bodies essentially to ensure that they can reproduce at any point. So if they mate with the male of their species, obviously, but they're like a prey kind of species, they can kind of just like hold the fertilized eggs like in their reproductive system, and then as soon as they feel safe, they can continue fertilization and like carry to full term, whatever that looks like, depending on the animal.
Wow.
But
it can also happen in humans, parthenogenesis, and the same thing happens with the gestational phase. It just develops into a tumor, and then usually the offspring doesn't survive before the woman can give birth.
Anyway, in nature, apparently parthenogenesis is not extraordinarily rare, where other organisms, when it comes to smaller or more simple creatures, it is something that happens and has had happen over evolution. But when it comes to more complex vertebrates, stuff like snakes, skates, it's a bit more rare, and extraordinarily rare, as in has not happened, is a successful parthenogenesis in mammals.
I wonder if truly an animal's body, just like ours, really does just want kids. Like you want to reproduce. Like that's their body's natural I don't know, purpose, I guess. I wonder how that relates to parthenogenesis as a whole. If your body just kind of comes up with that reaction to internal signaling, maybe of
hormones.
Yeah, like hormones. I don't know. It just didn't seem like that, but it kind of got me thinking.
yeah.
I mean, when it comes to the animal kingdom, kind of like a big, what do you think the purpose of life is much more complex idea when it comes to humans, but for animals, it kind of is just eat and reproduce. And parthenogenesis seems like this last-ditch effort in cases of, say, if they're not able to connect with other members of their species, they just have a way of continuing their species without the need and having some form of having their genes go on without them.
Their whole
A bushel of hay, and kind of reeling this back a little bit.
Oh.
So I feel like a big question when it comes to Charlotte having these babies in captivity is a big question of, what about these sharks? Aren't sharks and skates kind of related to each other? Couldn't it be shark babies?
No.
Unfortunately, as cool as that would be for the first time ever seeing that and being able to live through that, and personally as marine biology student over here, that would be so cool, but unfortunately, it is not.
You never know. Maybe one day, or maybe she could have these babies and they mutate because she's been exposed to sharks for so long by herself.
Oh, they're gonna mutate,
and they mutate and they become compatible with sharks.
Oh.
You never know.
Never know.
X-Men?
I think it would take a long time. Actually, it couldn't be possibly her babies, but
The one thing I am interested to see though is when she does have these babies, what the DNA results come back as.
Yeah.
That is, I hope that's
Yeah.
one of the first things they do, because that is
What if it's
something
some-
that I'm really interested in seeing the results of.
I just hope the babies are okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they've
That's-
been there for so long.
They have. And I'm hoping that, I mean, they did just do all those tests. I read in an article last week. So I think that if they weren't okay, they would have kind of put that out there already. because it's such a well-followed story by now. So I think that there's still hope for them, and I think that there's still going to be hope that they are going to survive. At least they might not survive for a very long time because of their conditions and because it's kind of an unexplained normality, but
Very
hopefully
spontaneous.
it'll be enough that there's enough time to do science on it and research on it and be able to come down to the bottom of all the questions that we've been asking and the questions that arose. And who knows, maybe it'll even give us an opportunity to understand other things that we've been discussing, like humans or the snakes, because that is one thing that while we were doing this project is, we started off on Charlotte and the stingrays and the sharks, but as we continued digging deeper, I think we all started finding more questions with, well, could it happen in this type of animal? Could it happen here? Like, can this be put into science for humans? And I think that that's something that's really cool, that this one story has kind of brought to a full circle of so much questioning and answering with other forms.
Yeah, because how cool would it be to just like find out that a woman, like a human, had a baby through parthenogenesis, like just on her own. Oh my God. I wonder how long it would even, like, the embryo would survive, even if it did happen. Yeah. I just don't think we're in that part of our evolution to be able to produce asexually yet.
No, but if it's starting to show now in smaller things, who knows? Yeah. Obviously not in our lifetime, but
like
far down the future, you never know what'll happen. Yeah. And that would be pretty cool.
Right.